Chapter 1, Central Vermont Railway, Montpelier and Barre, Vermont. I'm going to have to take your first swig of this. I told you, water. I couldn't find a picture of the passenger station at Montpelier on the CV, but this must be the passenger station in the background. Those of you who lived back then may tell me.
Yes, it is.
And I believe that little locomotive hauled the train from Barre to Montpelier Junction and back, probably, because I don't think that's mainline power. Now here's the real Central Vermont station. Still exists. I think there's a bank in there or something. And we're going to see later, what's the name of it? Railroad Square, it is. And we have some other nice pictures of Railroad Square coming up. Okay. That's not a section house. That's the Montpelier Junction station on the main line at Montpelier.
Can I interrupt you for 1 second?
Yes.
Train sheet I have over here is 1914, and it shows the 53 on the Williamstown branch. The engine running.
Give me this again.
I have the train sheet here for 1914.
Oh.
It shows the Williamstown branch, and it shows the 53. It ran to Williamstown.
Okay.
So that backs it up completely.
Thank you. I knew the guy holding up here. Okay, thanks. Other side of the station, painted boxcar red, I believe, CV station colors. I took that one about 1960. I want to explain to you that most of these photographs, were taken by me between 1939 and till I changed over to taking slides in the 1970s. And we'll also add that, my first picture I ever took of a train is in this program. So get excited when you see that. Okay. Can you see that?
Yep, I can.
Okay. I wanted to show that there was passenger trains, or still are, on the main line at Montpelier Junction. And this is, I did not take these pictures. I was only 10 years old then. And two milk cars, a baggage RPO, a coach, and probably a more deluxe car. Coming the other direction, next slide. No milk cars. I guess 210 or whatever that number was, perhaps 210, 29 train took the milk cars up and down the line. But it's beautiful. That's one of the two Pacifics. And I recall one of these Pacifics still were hauling B&M train from White River Junction to Springfield, Massachusetts, and back once a year, or several times, I mean, but not a full year. Offsetting some mileage that the B&M paid the CVA for between Windsor and White River Junction. So they were still running steam up until the early 70s.
Dwight, do you know, did they add the feed water to that engine on the front?
No, I don't know.
I didn't know if you, yes.
Again, I was only 10 years old.
Oh, I know. Behind steam
A very
engine,
precocious,
Pretty slow.
a very precocious town.
Well, we could go back. Never mind. Never mind. I do want to tell a tale, though. In the 1970s, I grabbed a ride on a Barre and Chelsea from Montpelier to Woodsville. I rode in the 70-tonner with the engineer, and as he was going along, when we came through Groton, he said, "You know what? There used to be a family over here that used to wave to me every day." I said, "Well, I'm the guy." There's a CV of a couple of small 060 switchers, and this one was found very often on the Barre branch.
He's cooking there yesterday.
I think they were Limas. There were three of them. Okay. 1941, I found the 280-400. That's one of the oldest 280s on the CV at Montpelier Junction. And 1941, I took that one. That picture with a little cheap plastic 127 film camera. You did the best you could with what you had.
Is that the first one?
Is that your first one?
No, we're coming to that.
He'll let you know.
Next one. Again, we're on the Barry branch of the Central Vermont. Ran from Barry through Montpelier to Montpelier Junction. There was a coaling tower and a water tank and was there a turntable at Montpelier Junction?
Yeah.
So that picture was probably based at Montpelier Junction. Crossing one of the, and there's the 388 again at Montpelier Junction, and you can see the coaling tower and the water facilities there at Montpelier Junction. I love this one. There's the Central Vermont gas electric passenger train which ran daily between Barry, Montpelier Junction. And this is dead of winter, and apparently the gas electric broke down. Montpelier, Wells River still had number 13 and number 14. They were 4 rows, and they were finally scrapped. And the Montpelier, Wells River went from passenger freight trains to all mixed trains after that. And they used 2 8-0s on their trains, not 4 rows. But anyway, the rest is BMW helping the CVRHS with get their passenger trains. I didn't take that one. Go next. There's the freight house. I believe that's the freight house, CV Freight House in Montpelier, Vermont. And the Vermont State House is behind the trees there in the background. And I don't know if there's a Jeep. I guess that's a Jeep. Every other car looks like a nice automobile. I forget why I took that, but I took it. Next. There, Barry Depot Square in Barry, 1910. CV station on the left. The Montpelier Wells River station on the right. And the Barry and Chelsea 062 number 4 in the center. And look, don't see any motor trucks, no motor cars. I don't know, 1910. I don't know the umbrellas for rain or for snow or what it's doing there. But and then the horse-drawn vehicles in the center. I thought that picture told a whole story about how things were in 1910. You had those 062 locomotives, tank engines that could pull the empty cars up the Millstone Hill and bring down the loads with men on every flat car with handbrakes, trying to hold the train back coming down the hill. This picture really tells a big part of the story. Thank you. Next. Chapter 2, Montpelier and Wells River and the Barry and Chelsea activities in downtown Montpelier and Barry, as well as to the quarries atop Millstone Hill, which are in Barry Town, not Barry City. The quarries, Websterville, Graniteville, other villages. Okay, go on. Believe it or not, that used to be the Montpelier and Wells River Railroad Station. And I took the picture in the 1970s. But it's quite an impressive station with that tower.
They had a refrigerator on the second floor, and originally I guess it was to keep butter and cheese in when it was a railroad station. But when Howe owned it, they were keeping fur coats and other things in it for the summer. You know, women would have them store their furs in there.
I want to say that in the 1970s, I think that station was overbuilt for the amount of business that Montpelier and Wells River did.
Well, there also was a office of the Barry Railroad in there for a while too. See?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you're the fellow that wrote that book. I have a copy. I'd love to have you sign it. I used that book for when I was doing this production. Okay, next. Barry and Chelsea, the Montpelier and Wells River lost their identity in end of 1944, I believe it was. And the Barry and Chelsea then acquired what was then the Montpelier and Wells River, as well as their own railroad from Montpelier to Barry. The M&W had a branch from Montpelier to Barry long before they took over the main line. Next. Here we are with 2 of the 3 locomotives on the M&W, 12 and 14. I mean, number 13 was probably at this point on the mainline train to Woodsville because they only had 3 locomotives. One was the Barry Switcher, and one was the Barry Hill job. And it has to be one, at least one, because the M&W on the mainline, they had a 15-foot RPO, which meant they had to run a round trip from Montpelier to Wells River every day, 2 round trips to take care of the mail. 1 round trip would have taken care of the number of freight cars and passengers they handled. 1 round trip. Next. I don't know if they're cooling water he's adding there or beer or what. Looks like every morning they park at the PNC Freight House and add some fluid to the number 12. That was the yard switcher that day, and the 14 was headed up the hill.
It's funny, it looks like they didn't finish the zebra stripes on the nose. You notice some of the stripes aren't,
They're white, they just outlined.
Dirty.
they must have been painting them.
Well,
And they needed the engine, so they just said.
when 12 arrived, it had never had those stripes. It just was black.
That must be the start.
12 is still running over on the Belfast and Moosehead Lake as
Number
number
12.
50, number 53.
Wow. Well, I used to wave to number 12 very often, and my kids did, and my grandkids did. That was our daily excitement over there.
So where's, what's that D&L boxcar?
Yeah,
That's the one to Laurel? So is that the Braun to Laurel?
Yeah.
What?
The boxcar got D&L on it.
D&L,
I wonder what
Pittsburgh,
the
like Erie.
That's American Erie.
That's
That's American
American
Erie. Does that sound proper? No.
B&L only had 36 cars.
Well, there's
They didn't have a 9109.
Not in 56.
Burlington, Lamar.
They were one guy.
Well, whatever. I can't vouch for every little detail here because I wasn't paying that much attention. Okay, next. There's old number 5 with a steel cab. It came from the works when it was built with a wooden cab. And so did 4, but they got a steel cab finally on number 4. Barry and Chelsea in downtown Barry, August 1941. Thanks. Again, I think here we're in this railroad square here in Barry. Number 6 was the more modern, the newest one that went up and down to the quarries. In fact, after Barry and Chelsea dieselized, it went on to Rock of Ages for a number of years. 4 did, 5 did, and 6 all went to Rock of Ages eventually.
Did one of these go to Berlin Mills too?
I don't know. There were similar engines on Berlin Mills, but.
Okay, it's not one of these, okay.
In 1935, the B&M took a lot of their own locomotives and modernized them Montpelier and Wells River. These are Class G10 060s, which were B&M's best 060s at that time. And 2 or 3 of them came to the Montpelier and Wells River. Another handful of them went to the St. Jane LC. And then the freight engines became the B&M K7 280s. St. Jane LC got a bunch of them, and so did the M&W. I think the M&W had 18, 19, 20, 21. And finally, when it was Barry and Chelsea, and the 70-tonners haven't been quite delivered yet, number 22 was slated for Barry and Chelsea, K7. This is one of the K7 280s in the Montpelier engine. Boy, it was 41. In 42, I was in the Navy and I never saw these things again. Never saw anything again. But I hung around around with my little plastic camera. Next. Yeah, there's the new one. So it's 22. It was 1947, and the end of steam came, I think it was 1947 on the end. So it was the final K7. It had, they were, each one of them had been on the Boston and Maine Railroad. Served them for a number of years. Another shot of this wonderful stuff. Okay, next. This used to be a Barrett and Chelsea engine. Number 2 was working at the Wetmore and Morse Quarry, which is up there in the hill. And it was an 060, no trailing truck. All in the weeds, I think it had been retired. Forget the year, I don't think I took that one. Next one. Here's number 5 with steel cab up at the quarry, working for the Rock of Ages. Now the little black spot right between the bell and the cab roof back there, that's number 6 working there also the same day. We have 2 of these out scurrying around all day. Next one. Up on the hill now, look at that one. I took that in 1940. It was brand new on the White River Railroad in 1915, brand new from Baldwin, a little 260. It eventually ended up with being a Rock of Ages, a little old 260. Now, the general manager of the White River Railroad around that time was Rochester, Vermont. His name was Edward S. Sanborn French, Ed French. Later became president of the Boston, Maine. Because beginning buying a new locomotive this way. Okay. You get a lot of pictures of these guys. No hard hats. Just riding around on these flat cars, going from job to job up the quarries. You notice it has on the cab roof class lights. It was fun watching those little engines. They kept real busy up there in the quarries. Thanks. That derrick is not on the car, it's up. Derrick in the ground. Empty. No, the flat car has 2 large stones on it. You can see there's a 5 and a 6. Oh yeah, it says 6. 1955, 56. They were coming to a close by 56. Next. Number 6, backing up with a string of empty flat cars. They were hard-working locomotives and did the job they had to very well. Yes, next. Let's see the number 5 or number 6 working the Rock of Ages quarry. The old wooden derricks, and the locomotive itself is working hard, and that whole quarry now is closed. It's been abandoned or closed, whatever. They're working at some other large quarries up on the hill, but not this one. Okay. Chapter 3, Montpelier and Wells River Railroad, 1873 to 1944. Became the Barry and Chelsea Railroad, 1945 to 1956. Mainline activities between Montpelier, Vermont, and Woodsville, New Hampshire. Now bear in mind that its entire time span from, at least from 1944 or 45, my summer home was within view of the M&W main line in Groton, Vermont. So that was my favorite railroad growing up. Just went past our house 4 times a day. In the morning, you woke up by it because she was hard. Later in the day, it would go down the other way. We'd say, all right, now we can go over town and get the mail. And then my mother would take a nap, and she said, well, wait till the next train comes, then we'll go up to the quarry and have a swim. So, Tuesday, the train came back. piled in the car and went swimming. And supper time, we're having supper and out on the porch, and the evening, the last train came by. Many times it was late because, not the M&W's fault, the B&M's fault. The passenger trains handling the mail from Springfield in New York to Woodsville would be running late. So we couldn't make the connection to Barry and Chelsea, which was required, handling the US mail. So that's what they ran the railroad based on the mail, not freight of the passengers. Next. The old, they kept the Barry Bandit route the same with B and C in there instead of M and W. That's on one of the K7s. Okay, next. I don't know who was up there or how, the low-flying airplane or what. But that's downtown Montpelier. The Montpelier was over Barry and Chelsea engine house. And then around Turtle Roof passenger combine. And the turntable, and I don't know where the polling facility is. It must be forward here.
They're probably
It's
standing.
probably where he's standing on. taking
Probably
pictures.
standing up on it.
Had ladders to get up there.
Probably standing at the cooling tower, I think.
Oh, okay. And back at Bailey Feed, the big mill up there. And the State House, peeking out of the trees up there. So you know you're in Montpelier when you see the State House. I like this picture because it shows so much of Barry and Chelsea Montpelier yard that you don't see from ground level. Okay, thanks. Now this is a puzzle, but maybe some of you can tell me why. This is the roundhouse, and I'm not sure the exact date, but on the left are two M&W 060 KT, whatever, 060 switchers, and one, the Barry and Chelsea 280, and number 5, the 062 saddle tanker, Barry and Chelsea. And the right looks like the CV 060. What they were doing there, I don't know. They had an engine house on the junction. It was a mystery to me, but hey, that's the way it was that particular day. It's definitely not a Montpelier or engine, right? I believe it's CV. Next. First picture.
Yay!
Yes! Way back then. First railroad motor, Montpelier was a train that brought from Vermont. Summer of, my friend and I yesterday visited the Grants Museum in between Montpelier and Barry. And I was talking to the fellow behind the desk. And I said, I used to live in Groton, Vermont. He said, what? Nobody lives there. I did. Okay. See that? Now, that bridge went out in the flood of 27, but it was restored quickly. Just down and just outside of Wells River. And that's a passenger train in those days. It was behind 440s. They had 13 and number 14 are still there. Built to the B&M standards from Manchester, locomotive works. And the first milk car is the Dwight Brothers Creamery car for South Reigate. And this was taken in 1935. I want to mention something about that Dwight Brothers milk car. They had 2 of them in that service. And every day, 7 days a week, one of those 2 was full of milk, went from South Reigate to Quincy, Mass, and the empty came back from Quincy, Mass to South Reigate. 2 cars in this service and got milk every day, 7 days a week. And the route, they went over 4 different railroads to get from South Reigate to Quincy. The Barry and Chelsea or the Montpelier River to get to Woodsville, the B&M to South Station. Union Freight to get to North South Station, North Station to South Station, and then the New Haven to Quincy. 4 railroads, 1 car every day. They never missed.
Do you know how long the White Brothers lettering was on those cars? Because they were GPEX, General American Fadler cars, but they had White Brothers logos on them, but,
Yeah, this got a circular one on the rear of this one.
yeah, but how long did the lettering last?
I don't know, because South Reigate was one town away from me.
Okay.
Dwight, if I
I was at
can,
Groton,
if I can help you on that,
yeah.
only one of the two cars that we've been able to document ever had the fancy White Brother lettering. The other one always had the GPEX.
Okay.
And they were given up in '52 when White Brothers, like they did every place else, always used truck.
Well,
One of their creameries right down the road here still says White Brothers Creamery.
the Montpelier and Wells River had a milk car until they were scrapped. 1 HP Hood milk car every day out of Plainfield, Vermont, every day, right through the end. Next. I was a summer resident of Groton, Vermont, but sometimes, 41. I used to come back, around Christmas time and meet the friends and, anyway, so I got this picture in the winter of 41. Montpelier, Wells River train en route from Woodsville to Montpelier. Okay.
Bailey's Feed Elevator.
There's the Bailey Mill, and the Montpelier, Wells River General Office Building. The Sunday only train, number 90. 14 and 14. They let their numbering is kind of close. Barry Chelsea 14, Barry Chelsea car 14. Making train orders out, I guess, was helped a lot. October 53. I was a passenger in 14 with the engineer. I had just hitchhiked from Montpelier Junction to Montpelier because I came off. I got on the CV 600 up in Swanton and got off at Montpelier Junction. And I got to Swanton by way of St. J and LC to Swanton the day before. And I got to St. Johnsbury from my home in Concord, New Hampshire, Boston to Maine. Got this train back to Woodsville at Boston to Maine. Nice 2-day weekend. Concord, New Hampshire to Concord, New Hampshire by way of Montpelier. One-man rail fan. And I tell you, this is what the engineers to me said when we went by our home, Groton. He said, used to be a family over there who waved at me every day, and I said it was me. Okay, next. Oh, there's where we were picking up the wood milk car at Plainfield. And that's a good place to get crushed, I think, wouldn't it?
Not much room. Something goes wrong.
And the 14 is left on the main line. This was the Sunday train, so it's just 3 cars now, 3-car train. And if they were still, I don't think at 53 they were still hauling White Brothers now. Next. This is the view from my back porch. And I took many of these pictures from the back porch. That's the Baptist Church in Groton, Vermont. And between the tracks and our home was a cow pasture. When I went back there this year to take another look, you couldn't see anything from my house because the trees are all grown up. And it was impossible to get this view from my house that I got in today. Things have changed. Here's the day when they didn't have much business. This is one of the regular trains, train number 2. July 51. The 13 and a couple of company flats, apparently going for a ballast job somewhere. And the combine.
Eastbound.
He still had the water tank. And that was, I think, ended up a steam town eventually, water tank. Okay. This is one of the heaviest passenger trains you've ever seen anywhere. All 3, Boston and Chelsea, 70 tonners, pulling this train of 10 heavyweight Pullmans on a National Guard extra, headed from Maine to Camp Drum in Watertown, New York, August of 1951. All 3 locomotives. And I remember another time when these trains were going through in the middle of the night, and I heard a steam whistle, even though railroad had been dieselized. It was a CV 280 helping get the train to Woodsville.
This train go on to the TV in Montpelier and then go up through the water? Because I used to see trains like that when I was a kid.
Well, they came from Maine, and they had all these odd routes, not what you normally see. So exactly how they got from Maine to New York State. Some of these trains also moved over to St. J and LC. So probably they said, well, let's see which railroads can still do this for us. I think that's the way it went.
But we used to see tanks and artillery pieces on flat cars going through early 50s.
They may have moved, but I'm not sure they moved this way.
They were going to Watertown. They were going to Camp Trump. Yeah.
Oh, yes, but I'm not sure they ran on the CVRHS. Thanks. Now, here's a gentleman that said, those people waved to me. Photos taken at the cab of BNC 13, October of 53. The next set of photos were taken, oh, I like this, group pictures. The next set of photos were taken on the July day in 1942 to show the activities involved when an M&WR train stops and works at the rural town of Vermont. It's not a matter of just stopping, putting mail bags on and off, and leaving again, as you will see. Okay, let's move forward. The crew is in their caboose, which is the baggage room of the combine, working in their paperwork. Okay. The fireman gets off and fills the tank with water. Okay. 2 cars of grain came in, one for Worthmore Feeds, and the other one, Rotten Grain Company. The left one is on a CN boxcar, bag feed, and the PRKX here is a former MDT refrigerator car, which was converted into Park and Pollard grain cars. And they had passengers. Tom Peter River was a combine, had about 24 seats in the coach portion of the car. Here the conductor oversees the 2 passengers that are boarding, possibly headed to Hale's rotation, Hale's Tavern in Wells River, because Groton is a dry town. We did not carry very many passengers, believe me. Next. The mail must go through. George Macklem had a 2-wheel push cart that he used to carry the mail between the 15-foot RPO on the train and the Groton, Vermont post office. I took these pictures in July of 42. And that man pushed that cart down the hill, over and off to the station 4 times a day. They went to pick up trucks later for handling the mail. And LCL, remember LCL? I mean, they had way cars, and you had small shipments. Well, here's 2 of the trains brakemen loading an LCL car with several heavy crates of granite cemetery markers. Now, if you look down along the track side, you see 2 masts, but there are 2 granite working sheds at Groton, Vermont. They're still producing granite monuments with Barry granite. Those are pretty heavy. And the way car had Fox trucks, it was a B&M boxcar. Back-breaking work, I would say. They deserve a stop down at Hale's Tavern. Okay. Now we've got to pick up trucks to handle the mail. 1950. And the water tank has never been used again there. And number 13 is following a train that day. This again is those 2 work cars that were empty, heading for a workshop somewhere on the M&W variations. The pickup truck and the handling the mail, and there's a person in the background. That woman has lived in the station. She was not an employee, but her family was raised there. Her husband worked for the railroad. But she handles the Railway Express at the station. So she is unloading and picking up, that's unloading express shipments. which she would move into the waiting room at the station and let the customers know that they had their goods and come on down and pick them up. So that's the activity at that point. Next. Another view from my back porch going the other direction. Still the milk car from Plainfield. My church was in another one. This is the Baptist church, the Methodist church in Groton, Vermont. My grandfather was a pastor there. And my father, who didn't like being the pastor's son, ran away from home and went to sea, and he became a merchant, sea captain. Busy place. Here it was. At the end of the B&M ownership in Wells River, and just behind the cars was the Canadian Pacific trackage. And this is the mixed train of Barry and Chelsea crossing to reach Woodsville by the overhead bridge in Wells River. And 14, the combine is back there. The final trains before they were abandoned used the ex-Rutland RPO coach. I've never seen an RPO coach before. They had one on the Rutland. And it was on the final trains of the Barry and Chelsea.
There's a similar one on the St. Jan too.
Oh, the combine.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had two. And then one here. And there was a turtle top one. They went from between.
Oh, yeah, they're all switching around.
Okay, we go. There's a, go on the track over that bridge. And this is back this two rails here. That bridge is just arriving in New Hampshire because Vermont owned the river. They were very shrewd in Vermont. And this way, New Hampshire had to build bridges. I learned this when I was on the Springfield terminal. We had a toll bridge. It was entirely in New Hampshire. Those shrewd Vermonters said, let them build the bridges. Well, then along came these big, giant power dams on the Connecticut River, generating huge amounts of tax money, all went to New Hampshire. There, Vermont. This is the final one, final rails of the Barry and Chelsea lifted in Wells River, Vermont, April of 1957. You can see the Wells River Station in the background, the CP tracks on the left. And thus endeth my program, and I want to thank you for all for looking at this. I read one more. I will take questions if you have them. If you don't have them, thank you all.
What generated all that freight, that was in that freight lining up in White River, or in Wells River?
What free?
What sources of freight did the Wells River, up here Wells River have? You generated any freight?
Yes.
Besides
They owned the Barry and Chelsea granite
granite?
and general merchandise, both ways. It was B&M's entry to the capital city. B&M got their customer freight. Yes.
You can tell I'm a history teacher for asking this. What have you done to preserve this incredibly valuable collection of bygone Vermont?
I've got it all in my computer. I've got it in albums. And in the album, they have notations, please send this when I'm gone to this historical society, this club, whatever.
That's really good.
And I want to save it.
I congratulate you for that.
And I've been selling, in fact, I've been selling.
I have some.
Yes, I've been selling, I put them on a disc and sell the disc.
CD.
And I'm not doing it because I want to get rich, I'm doing it because I want to get this out.
They're very reasonably priced.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Anyone else?
The station, engine house, how far is that from where we're located now? It seemed like we almost might be near where that engine house was.
300 yards.
You mean
I'm not
Yes.
familiar enough with.
across the river and up, out a half mile or
Oh, it's that much further, okay.
The turntable's still there, so that gives you the points. You can go see the turntable, and it gives you the points where everything else was. That
So
was
it's
a
about
great picture to show you.
About a half mile east of here. Oh, west, okay, that's, all right, that's what I, makes more sense. Yeah.
You're gonna ask me all you want about Groton, Vermont, nobody lives there, but
There's a few buildings, and a couple churches, had to be somewhere.
thank you all. Thank you.